So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Namaste and a very warm welcome to all of you to the Blub World Web Talks 203rd episode. In the last 202 episodes, we have interacted with more than 3,000 school leaders on this very platform, where they've shared their ideas, opinions, innovations, and what all new are they doing in the education space. तो नमस्कार, आप सभी का स्वागत है ब्लब वर्ल्ड वेब टॉक्स के 203वें एपिसोड में। पिछले 202 एपिसोड्स में हमने करीबन 3,000 से ज्यादा स्कूल लीडर से बातचीत की और उनसे जानने की कोशिश की कि वो शिक्षा को कैसे बदल रहे हैं और शिक्षा उन्हें कैसे बदल रही है. So today as well, we'll be interacting with some amazing people from across the world who are working in this field of education in different roles, in different capacities, but with the same and typically that ambitious motive of creating the future by their own hands. So with these educators and their thoughts going to come up in the next section or today's web talk, just some ground rules before we start. First, the Blub World Web Talks is a timed platform. So once your speaking time is over, you might get muted. If you get muted, please don't get offended. It's just to keep the activity crisp and enjoyable for everyone. Secondly, it's a bilingual platform, so you can use English or Hindi, any of these two languages. Please don't use a third one because I might not get it, but still you can use it because we believe in a simple idea that language is just for communication. It's not the parameter for knowledge. So thank you everyone once again for joining us today. The topic for today is a little different from normally what we are talking about. Today we'll be talking and interacting about, are teenagers really smarter than their smartphone? Because the post-COVID, the environment in classrooms has changed dramatically. There is no new information that's coming from the teacher. Most of the new information actually comes from the internet. The teacher is no more a sage on the stage. So it's very difficult to sustain your authority or try to find a way that teenagers listen to you. They challenge you more and listen to you less. At least that's the scenario in India when we see it, but it changes across countries. So let's try to know from our school leaders today that what would they think, that are teenagers smarter than their smartphone, or does the smartphone beat them? So once again, a very warm welcome to all of you. This is the 203rd episode. Let me invite the first speaker for today. A very warm welcome to Mrs. Bhatia, the principal of St. Edmunds School from Jaipur, Rajasthan. Anu ma'am, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself and a very warm welcome.
Namaskar, everyone, and thank you for inviting me for this very much needed topic and on such a great platform. Now, when we talk about as leaders, when we talk about these teenagers, they really need to, their things, their activities, we should discuss it. And the topic you have chosen is totally different, is totally unique. No one, I don't think so, I've heard about this topic earlier, because everyone is talking about the digital world, digital tools, technology, and after COVID, so everything is going in the use of technology is must. But now, when we are using, if you're really talking about whether the teenagers are smarter than the smartphones, I would like to say not only the smartphones. If we talk about their behavior, their things, everything is, I think they are very well versed about their, the things which are awkward for us. Technology, if you get any resistance, if you get any problem in handling those things, they are the first one to assist you, to train you. A little child can easily help you. Not about the teens, it's not about the teens only, even the young ones. I should talk about the 2.5-year-old who is able to catch hold the mobile phone, is easily tell you the track of going towards a game app, how to go it. Just need to open your phone, that's it. So he knows. So there is nothing like that we can say, yes, the statement is absolutely true. Teens are very smart because ultimately this has been developed by the young scientists or young tech persons. So of course their brains are there. So input is done by them. These smartphones are really created by them. So I would say further on we'll talk about it, that how the things they are really very smart then, but ultimately these are the apps and these are the latest things they are knowing. So would go proceed. I'll proceed with this statement.
Thank you so much, Anu ma'am. Let me try to summarize or take the important points ahead in the discussion. We all see the teenagers and typically the next generation is super well versed in technology because they are technology natives. They were born with technology. And secondly, they become trainers very quickly. Since they understand technology better than us, they help us navigate, they help the elders. Okay, this is what's new coming in technology. But some way or the other, they are the ones who use it the most. And at the same time, they are being used the most. Because there's a very simple proverb in the world of technology that if something is free, then you are the product. So that's the challenge that we're trying to figure out through this topic, that really, are we building the right kind of smartness faculties in teenagers that they're able to beat technology in the final race of a successful life or a successful race as humans? So let me invite thank you so much, Anu ma'am. Let me invite the next speaker for today. A very warm welcome to Mr. Mika Rantala, the principal from Finland. I am not able to read the name of the school. I would request you to please read it out loud because I might mispronounce it. So a very warm welcome, Mr. Mika. The next 3 minutes are yours. Please unmute yourself and a very warm welcome.
All right. Hello, everyone. The smartphone in the same box, it's evil and same thing in the same box. Smartphones, they can make thousands and thousands of smart things that we couldn't even dream about just a couple of decades ago. Smartphones, they are widening our thinking, giving us a world that did not exist before. And at the same time, smartphones are taking care of things that makes our everyday life easier, sometimes even too easier. And I think that's the very important issue for teenagers, that they help them to do a lot of things easier than before. And that's why they are so favor of people, and especially lots of new things coming every day for them. And kids, they want to learn things, and they want to learn them fast. What they have learned yesterday might be old thing today and tomorrow. And so, as said before, for young people who have been using smartphones more or less all their life, smartphone has often became the center of their life. So they concentrate more or less on their phones, not on learning, not on other people, not on what teacher is saying and what teacher is teaching. And for too many young people, the smartphone is the thing that they can't even live without the phone. And in many cases, if the student cannot use the smartphone, they get very anxious. It's like a drug. They have to check if they had got any new messages. They have to check if something happened in the virtual world there in smartphone. They really want to do new TikTok videos and what other solutions there are in the phone, but they want to use them. So what we need to do is try to separate the thing where is suitable to use smartphone or where not, and whether it's suitable in this lesson or not, and whether they can use it in a celebration or in test or whatever. But it's a difficult task. It's a difficult task, and I think we all adults and teachers and principals, we need to learn about how to do that. So I would say that smartphone is a good servant but a bad master. And the biggest dilemma of using smartphone is just that they are usable for so many cases, so for so many things, so many possible thinkable situations. that it's really, you know, I would say that it's a big mess because it's a big possibility as well. It's a big possibility to teach our students how to think, how to learn, and how to solve problems in the future. But it's a big task. And okay, am I out now?
The first 3 minutes are over. We'll come back to you in the second section. So let me try to summarize what you said. We'll come back to you again. So I think a very important observation that you shared, that smartphones are actually rewiring our thinking. They are tracing our think patterns, changing them forever. Our psychology is absolutely, getting dependent on the kind of, technology or the user interface that technology has built. We now see the world with a completely different perspective and a completely different packaging. Making life easier, actually, that's the focus that led everyone into it. That's what, allures everyone to keep using technology, because it makes life easier. Focus has shifted to phones and devices and not on teachers. Notification obsession. Now, this is something that's being, I can say it's a human race challenge now, that everyone is obsessed that why was there a sound in my phone? Whatever it is, I want to check it right away. And finally, it's a super evil master. And I don't say that just because technology is, putting us in the wrong spot, because it's actually developing those wrong spots within ourselves, because it's making some permanent damage in our thinking patterns, in our neural networks. So let's try to understand more on this from the next speaker. A very warm welcome to Ms. Sarita Katiyar, the principal of Ryan International School from Jaipur, Rajasthan, India. Sarita ji, over to you for the next 3 minutes, and a very warm welcome.
Good evening. Yes, so what I understand from this question is that are our teens smarter than the smartphones? So I will take the literal meaning of this line. Yes, our teens are smarter than the smartphones. Okay. So I was assuming, I've always, tried to maybe answer your question in a different manner, where I feel that if this gadget is kept away from the children, are our teens not smart enough? They're very smart. So my answer to your question would be that yes, our teens are pretty smarter. This is just a gadget. Given them a time or a frame where they are allowed not to use the smartphones, I think they are wonderful. They will use their creative brains. They will be using their talent. They will use their creativity. That is why we say that alternate fields are required. Maybe they should get into their hobby structure a lot. Maybe they should spend time in the open fields a lot. Maybe they should come up into social life a lot, and stop being dependent upon these smartphones for everything. We want to encourage children back into the action wherein they are using their brains again. So if you ask me in literal terms, yes, teens are smarter. It's just that they are dependent upon smartphones. That's how we are giving them that usage. If we avoid giving them this particular gadget, yes, they are smart enough. They can handle any situation. See, it's just a matter of generation change. Do you think we were not smart enough when we never had smartphones? We were smartest. We were going to the libraries. We were going to various other places to find out our answers. For one single essay, I remember I would be testing 10 books and pulling out the best lines from those 10 books. I would be using my brains to a greater extent. And in that course of time, I would be reading 10 paragraphs. And I would be collecting some other information also beyond the topic that was given to me. So I was much more smarter, because while searching one topic, I would be searching 3, 4, 5, 6 other things also, and I would keep that into my stock. I would write it somewhere, and that particular matter I will use somewhere, times later when it was required. So see, time was just the same. Do you think our forefathers, our ancestors, who discovered wheel or fire or aeroplanes, they were not smart enough? They were also sometimes in their teens. Are you getting my point? So my point is that this is just an added feature for this generation, this Gen Z, what we call it. There might be something else after 10 years. Absolutely in favor of this term, that teens particularly have always been smart with whatever surroundings available. It's just a matter of time that this present era has got a smartphone. So I would sum up to say that we were smarter, generations will be smarter, teens will always be smarter, because see, this 15, 13 to 19 is such a lucrative age where children grasp the most. Their brains are functional. They have caliber to do what not. The best things are produced at this particular age. Smartphone or no smartphone. Age is the most important factor. So if it is teen age, this is the important age where everything is developing, whether it is outer, interior, biology, chemistry, physics, everything in their body, their hormones, whatnot. Everything is developing in the developing phase. So I don't think so. Smartphone can challenge the smartness of our teens. Teens will always be smarter than the smartphones, is my answer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarita. Let me try to take the most important elements out of it. I think you gave a very candid answer to the question that yes, teens are absolutely smarter than the smartphone. If you simply take away the gadget from them, they still remain relevant. They don't become irrelevant without the gadget. And a very important element, that was the former generation not smart enough? That how can you say that a current teenager is not smart enough or is not smarter than a smartphone? Actually, the genesis of this question is where this discussion actually comes into play with. The genesis of the question is pretty simple. As of now, even the adults are not smarter than their smartphones. Because the kind of marketeers that we have right now, the kind of technology solution providers that we have right now, the Googles and the Amazons of the world, they know very well that how you decide things. And it's not because of a hit and trial that has been done. Current marketeer is a psychologist. So they're not just, so the reason why this question actually comes into play is not because we won't be able to beat technology, but will we be able to beat human psychology? That's the question. We are fighting against ourselves. So that's the actual essence of the question. But I think you took it very nicely as an educator, that yes, you can't just, reject everything and say a teen is not smarter. And absolutely the teen is smarter. He is the person who is in that perfect age bracket. He has the right kind of energy. Give him the right place to vent it out, put it in the right direction. A lot of things will happen. But I think some very important points that you made. Thank you so much, ma'am. Let me invite the next speaker for today to add more to the discussion. A very warm welcome to Ms. Shephali Charan, the principal of Asian World School from Jaipur, Rajasthan. Shephali ji, over to you for the next 3 minutes, and a very warm welcome.
Namaskar and thank you. I would like to break your sentence, your question. I don't think it's a question. It is more of a statement. We are just kind of deciphering it further. So we all agree that the children are smart. They're extremely smart. And thank you, Sarita ma'am, for reiterating that we were very smart. We still are very smart. So when I talk about smartness, I would like to kind of, there are many domains of smartness. Smartness doesn't have a single domain. So when we are talking in terms of teens, we need to understand smart. Yes, they are smart. They are technologically smart. They are logically smart. Adaptability is very high for them. I think they're extremely smart when it comes to adapting to new situations and new things. They're extremely good multitaskers. So they're extremely, smart at that. But are they, smart when it comes to interpersonal relationships? Are they smart in understanding the undercurrents? Are they smart? So the basic thing is that we need to understand that smartness is not a single dimensional thing. It has a lot of other dimensions. And more than as an educator, I accept the fact that they are smart. My problem lies further. What are we doing for their smartness? The problem is that where we stand today, wherever we are today, what we are doing with them in the schools. I mean, I won't talk about Finland, Mika, but I would definitely like to talk about India. What we are doing with them, is it justifying their smartness? Is it adding to their smartness? So that is my biggest worry. That is my biggest question. Are we giving them enough opportunities to use that smartness? Are we channelizing their smartness? So these are the bigger questions which we need to answer. The fact that they are smart is well established. I think we all accept it. But then we also need to understand which are the areas where they need help in becoming smart.
Thank you so much, Shephali, ma'am. I think, yes, you took the question in the right direction. You took out the right kind of inference from it, that smartness has multiple domains and multiple dimensions. When you talk of smartness in human beings, are they smart in understanding the undercurrent? That's a real question. What are we actually doing to enhance that smartness? And finally, is the current ecosystem or the current situation or the system that they are in, is it justifying the kind of smartness that they have? Are we contributing to it, or are we just depleting it, or are we simply making them prey to technology? Because we've just opened the doors with no curation. And at the same time, a question actually comes up that in such an open world, is there an opportunity for curation? Can somebody actually be there for moderating things, curating things? Because there are a lot of people who are taking a lot of efforts to, put some kind of a filter, but none of them are actually successful. So your thoughts on this in the second section of the interview, anyone of you can, say it out loud, that will we actually be able to put some kind of filter somewhere to content, to internet, to technology? Because that's what the challenge right now is. Yes, anyone can, just unmute yourself and speak out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like so many organizations are coming, cyber safety things are there. They are working in the direction of environment. So many NGOs are associated what to do with e-waste. So in that way, if we are using technology, they are a little bit aware about the sustainability. So that is the major concern. And I'm seeing many youth, young students, they are joining, they are creating their own NGOs, and they are working in these directions. So in that ways, if they are using technology or their dependence on these type of gadgets and devices and this lifestyle, but on the other hand, they are very much aware about the consequences and the ways to deal those situations. So I'm just looking forward to it. So this is what I'm observing, and this is I'm finding very good in these students.
So there are many people, many organizations, but do we actually are in a position to filter out content, to curate content, or in some or the other way make it better for teenagers specifically? I think Shephali ma'am wanted to say something. Ma'am, over to you.
See, when we are talking about children and we are talking about teens of this generation, before we answer any of the question, it is very important that we understand what we are dealing with. We are dealing with a child or a teenager or who's extremely out there, who knows everything, who's working. For him, knowledge is not something he's seeking, because knowledge is just a Google away. So we need to understand his requirements before we curate anything. So what does this learner looks like? He's extremely agile. He has very short attention span. He is he is non-conformative. Like we have been dealing with confirmations all our life. He's a non-conformative. He believes in paving a new path. He believes in finding new arenas. He believes in not putting himself in a box. He believes in going beyond and testing his own abilities. So this is the kind of learner we are dealing with. So before we think of curating anything, we need to understand our learner. Aristotle, when he was, Alexander was going out for a war, he went to his guru and he asked him, tell me one thing that I need to remember all my life. And he said, know thyself. So I always tell my teachers that know thy learner. If we want to work with these children, we need to know them in and out. And of course, we know them in and out, but the problem is that many of the things are top down. Many of the things are not just in our hand. We are based and dependent on an ecosystem which is not understanding and accepting the change that has come in the learner very, very recently. The children today, because of these 2 years of pandemic, they have turned into self-learners. which is an extremely good thing. But coming back, how much of it is it that we are able to use that capabilities of theirs? Are we, the kind of ecosystem we need, it needs to change 180 degrees. The way we are doing things need to change 180 degrees. And much of it we can do, I think a larger part of it we can do in our schools, we can do wherever we are. We can give them the kind of task that is required. We can give them the task kind of, challenges that they require. We just need to stop thinking or doing things the way we were doing and probably move ahead. And gone are the days of, teaching a group. Now it's time for personalized learning programs. That is one thing I feel we have to, go down with each child, each individual, and plan out, map out things for that particular child. Otherwise, we will not be able to handle it if we are so random and so, group have that group kind of thought process in us. So there's much to be said and much to be done in it. More than said, I think much is to be done about it.
Absolutely, Shephali ma'am, because initially we had a group of passive learners. Now the teenager is actually an active learner. He is a part of the complete process of learning. And at the same time, he questions a lot. He's not ready to accept the way things are. He's not a conformist. So Mika, I think we would want your thoughts here that globally, Finland is considered a country where there's a lot of innovation happening in education. A lot of people look up to Finland that, okay, there's something amazing that's happening there. Let's try to learn from there or replicate it in some or the other way. What are your thoughts that is technology really interfering in education, or, there is something that technology is adding to it? And at the same point, are we really able to justify the kind of energy that teenagers have, the kind of smartness that they have with the education system that we have right now? Over to you, Mika.
So in Finland, I'm working in the upper secondary school level. A couple of years ago, we started to use all the material we are using electrical material. We have electricals, we have computers for every kid, and they are using basically only computers as a tool to learn. And also we've been experimenting several times that there will be not even computers or laptops, but just, there is my cell phone, just these cell phones as a learning tool. And the key point to kind of adjust to this technology is that we need to educate our teachers to learn better ways to use computers and smartphones as a tool to learn, instead of ask the kids to put them aside, but help them to use smartphones as a tool for them to understand the learning, what teaching, or for a learning tool or for amusement tool. And that's the thing. That's the thing that also I would say that I want to say it again. Only way we can challenge this thing is that educate our teachers to better use of the technology, and that's what we are doing. We are constantly doing in Finland, educating our teachers. It's never-ending story, because the technology will develop so much, and also the surroundings. The surroundings where students are using technology and smartphones is developing so fast. So in order to help other countries and people to learn the way how we do it, you just need to come and visit us.
Thank you so much, Mika. From those laptops, desktops to finally a smartphone for learning. And I think trying to teach teenagers or trying to teach students that how do you build that trade-off? Is it a tool for amusement? Is it a tool for learning? And how do you give more importance to learning, and typically working on building them as active learners and not on, focusing on trying to build filters on technology, trying to stop technology. Let it flow the way it is. Let's equip the teachers more so that they're able to facilitate more and make it a never-ending story. If it's not a never-ending story, I think that's the problem. It should be a never-ending story for teachers training. Sarita ma'am, you want to add something? You can, to the complete discussion. Over to you.
What Mika has said is what I firmly believe in, that if technology is used in the correct way, and that can be felicitated with the help of the educators. So if educators know what is to be imparted to the children, and children take it as a methodology. I mean, now see, my context to our student is absolutely different. I won't understand what is happening in Finland. But when it comes to us, the developing countries like India, we are like obsessed with the smartphones presently. So it's like this generation, fourth generation, 5G, and this G and that G. So here, this kind of temptation is rising day by day. We will take time to understand that it is a gadget, it is one of the aspects of learning methodologies, be it a smartphone. So this kind of, this demarcation has to come through well-taught teachers. So if teachers will understand that this is one methodology, this is one gadget, treat it as a gadget, and don't, make it so much get onto your heads that it becomes a part of, a breathing process. I would still insist, Mika, that even if technology has taken an upper edge, I think we should promote children, especially teenagers, towards one musical instrument and one sports. So that they keep these two things simultaneously. One hobby and one physical exercise. So if they keep these two things plus plus, then come what may, laptop, smartphone, PC, whatever, even if it is a picture hall throughout the day, it's fine. That balance will be maintained. So I totally agree with you. The times are gone, and uh, we would not have survived during COVID if these smartphones were not there. Thank you to smartphone. We are able to see you and talk to each other. No denial. Thanks to the smartphone makers, and I'm totally into it. And but at the same time, uh, would like to have teenagers remain as teenagers. See, when I speak to my children, my only thing is, see, your hormones are changing. It's time to look after your skin. It's time to look after your height. It's time to take care of your hair, and plus your brains. So everything has to go hand in hand. And for the development of rest of the things, the other things are equally important. So for brain wise, if smartphones are there, fair enough. But rest of the things do matter a lot. So my stake would be this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarita ma'am. And I think, trying to promote a more holistic approach. And you're very right when you say that when we typically talk of developing countries where technology has just come in, or the smartphone is basically the new pep thing. And when it's the new, hip thing, everyone wants it and they're obsessed with spending all their time on it. And that's the phase that at least India is going through. When a teenager gets a smartphone in India, he just wants to be on it throughout till the time his eyes don't hurt. And once they hurt, he finds a different screen to get glued onto. So we need to now
One more
find.
point. Yeah, that's
Yes,
one
Sarita
more
ma'am, please.
point I have to say. My daughter has just gone to Frankfurt, Germany for one of her courses. Now, what she talks about Germany and what I talk about India, I mean, I find it so difficult to understand the difference in how things are happening there and how things are happening in India. There's a long distance in terms of developed nations and developing nations. So, what Mika might be saying easily, I'm taking a little time to understand, So, there is a difference in opinion, there is a difference in handling things. And we are at a developing stage, and their things have gone plus one. So, I totally agree. We are traveling slowly, gradually, but of course, the rest of the points remain the same. Thank you.
Actually, a very important element that comes when we talk of education in India is the population. We have to teach a very big mass of people. It's not that easy to experiment something around them. It's not easy to, just to make it very simple, it's very difficult to do one good training for teachers in 1 year. That becomes a challenge when you talk of a country like India, because there are millions of teachers in every nook and cranny, and it's very difficult to even keep them upskilled and up to date. So now it's time to typically conclude the discussion. But before we go into the final concluding segment, there's one small little question that I want to put forth to all of you. When technology came in, it basically rode on human psychology. Or simply what it did was that whatever humans like, ride onto it and make them addicted. And that's why technology products became successful. But with this, when something is made with this kind of a mentality, do you think is the current generation preparing itself to face a more graver future with this? Because most of the technology projects are now, they're becoming more and more, sharp. They know the next step that you're going to take on a device. Are you going to scroll up or not? With your scrolling trends, they're able to, forecast the kind of content they need to show to you. Just to build their revenues, just to make it super sticky, they misuse human psychology. And the challenge is, are we really teaching children to be psychologically aware of themselves? Are we actually talking to them about this? Your thoughts on this? Anyone from you can speak out.
See, it largely lies on us to give the solutions. The children are growing up. It is for us to teach them how to see the good from bad, the right from wrong. So the responsibility largely lies on us as teachers, as educators, to make them understand the gravity and to make them understand what is really happening in that world. Having said that, I think the children in general, I would come back. Very recently, we did an activity in the school where we asked the children to create a physical form of any video game they liked. And we divided them into groups and then we made them do it. Now, when that activity was happening, I realized a lot of things and we then counseled them, group work is something they need to do in real life. But we don't make them do it in school. So when they work in group, that is when, the dynamic starts happening, when they have to understand when to give, when to take, when to accept, when not to accept, when to put their foot down. And that's a very complex, kind of understanding of real world. So through that thing, I realized that, we are not giving them enough opportunities to learn the right things. We need to develop the kind of engagements. We need to develop the kind of that will hook them and at the same time deliver what we want them to do. So we need to prepare them for failures first thing. Very recently, I have seen this phenomena that parents also, teachers also want children not to struggle, which is actually opposite to learning. So we need to train them to develop, understand failures, understand negative things in their life. They need to be, resilient also. They need to be given opportunities to think out of the box. I think the only thing that we can do as caregivers is give them opportunities, engage them into right kind of activities, and let them reach to their own conclusions, where they will automatically come to the right conclusions. They are smart. We all accept that. So they will reach to the right conclusion, provided we nudge them in the right direction. So all depends on the kind of nudging that we are doing to them.
A very important point, that what are we actually doing, to nudge them in the right places. Mika, over to you. And I have a very specific question for you. Within Finland, within your ecosystem, with your education ecosystem, is there some specific effort that you're taking so that the teenagers or the next generation is more psychologically aware of themselves? So they are not doing things or using technology, unaware.
Okay, good question. I might answer this question, and I come back to what Sarita said before. Kids, they should have one sports hobby and one musical hobby. And what we have learned that many kids who have hobbies, more than just one, and they use their energy and they spare time to develop other skills which are of course connecting to schools, but they are, for example, in Finland they are playing volleyball, and then they might have they have a band, they play in a band, so they will develop their skills in other areas than traditional schooling. So they are the kids who also use a lot of smartphones, but we have found out they are more responsible. They use cell phones with more responsibilities, and I don't know how is it, but of course they are eager to learn new things, and very often they use cell phones to learn new skills. If they don't know something, they take their cell phone and they try to learn it, and that's also connecting to when they learn new skills. For example, spike volleyball better or play guitar better. They learn it also not in a class, I mean in a band class, but also from cell phones. And I don't know. I don't know if this answers the question you asked, but this was my answer.
So by opening, the gates for them, by letting them use smartphones for their learning, I think that's your effort of making them psychologically aware about themselves and not getting used by technology. So we are nearly at the end of the discussion. If you want to, yes, Sarita, I'm over to you. You want to contribute something? You'll have to.
Wondering, yeah. I was just wondering when you said that psychologically, this psychology which has worked in the market, and then market has captured, and that's how we have started walking, just like Pied Piper of Hamelin, we've just walked behind them. So I remember this is nothing new, Daksh. This has been happening in the history. If you remember Roman Catholics and Julius Caesar and Brutus and all those historical characters, I was when you said that, it just opened my view of a gladiator fight in a closed stadium, and where people were fighting. And what was the purpose behind it? Was the purpose was to show the mightiness of the king. And then the gladiators became a part of the army. Then they started developing in physical build, and so on. This became a genre. It became a kind of a system in their psychology. So see, that's how it has been happening in mankind, that we play with the psychology of the people, we drive them towards something and gain benefit out of it. At that time it was king, now it is iPhone, Vodafone, or whatever you call it. So mankind has always been driven by a thought. This selling of smartphone was a thought which picked up very well, and we have all become slaves. And yes, we make use of it. Sometimes we lose it also, but the correct balance, that's into our hands. So I think my take again would be that if it's a perfect combination of a hobby and a games and then a gadget, it's wonderful.
I think a very candid discussion that started from a smartness now reached Colosseum. We're talking about gladiator fights and the way human psychology has always been misused, and the way it's actually been. There's a thought that drives all of us together and takes us towards a story. Because in psychology also there's a term called story bias. We always want to know the cause and effect relationship of everything, even when in reality it's not true and not at all true. From the Roman kings, or from the democratically elected Athenians, to finally today's technology kings or the technology behemoths who are ruling the world at this very moment. So when we actually started our work as an institution, we felt that the challenge with teenagers is they have the right kind of energy, but they don't have the right kind of inspiration. If you go and look around yourself, one of the most successful conquerors of the world had his major career span during his teenage. Alexander the Great conquered the maximum portion of the world when he was 16 to 22. That was his career age. And that's the kind of energy that teenagers have, but we don't, give them the right kind of direction. So when we as an institution started working, we thought, let's create or let's curate stories of inspiration that comes from teenagers. And that's where the idea of Blub World was born. Every month, we try to find out teenagers who are doing amazingly well in life and share their stories with many more teenagers. You can't just sell them old stories. They need new stuff. They need new things going around them. And that's where the idea of the World Teen Parliament came into existence, which now is 1 year old. Every year, we elect 100 teenagers to be a part of an actual working parliament. And then these 100 teenagers throughout the year get trained, mentored, and funded for a very simple idea that how can you improve the world? And when you think of improving the world, don't think of suggestions. Think of things that you yourself can do. Let's talk about more self-driven things. Because right now, what humans are missing is doing stuff. And that's why technology is getting smarter by the day, and we are not. Thank you so much, everyone, for being a part of the Blub World Web Talks. This was the 203rd episode. Thank you so much for joining. If you enjoyed and if you want to attend the future sessions, open your audio, say a big yes, and thank you so much for being here with us.